Good morning, everybody. Welcome. I did get some word that the 5 has some issues going on, so we might have some people dropping in here a little bit late. And you might also know, actually I should first say, Betsy is right out here, Happy Kids Movement, and she has a kids program for kids ages 6 and up. And so if you are interested in hanging out with Betsy, not you, if your children ages 6 and up are interested in hanging out with Betsy, then be sure to sign them in with her and make sure she has your phone number and all of that, and then of course retrieve them after the service. That would be helpful. And then she's right here, if you One Love shirt on. So if you don't know who that Betsy is. And they meet, just so you know, they meet in the auditorium. So this building is this is the city of Carlsbad. We rent from them. This is like the admin building. Across the way, right over it, is the auditorium, and that's where the kids meet. And Betsy will be there with them, so you can feel free to just cut right through this little back area. And the police hang out right here. They got a little hangout spot. That feels comforting. It's good, you know, got the kids hanging out. We keep the front doors locked of that building and all of that. So keep secured. I have 2 kids, 10 and 12, and so I understand. So afterwards, you can just follow the sidewalk around past the police and then pick up your children there. We also are going to be working on, oh, that's Betsy, yes. Thank you, Betsy. We're also going to be having some stuff for kids under age 6, too. So we had somebody that offered that, and so we're in works right now to figure that out. So really stoked on that. And then it feels light in here, right? Like we don't have the resource table, if you've noticed. Not only does it feel like we don't have as many folks in the room, but in addition, which it doesn't matter because these hearts are the hearts that are here, and I'm excited and so happy to see everybody. I'll tell you more about that in a minute and why I feel maybe a little amped up. I'm gonna bring it down, I promise. But we don't have the resource table. Hello, Jade. Don't have the resource table today because we wanted to have room for activities. Just kidding. Step Brothers people said, okay, I see you. But directly after the service today, we're actually going to try to end at 11 o'clock because I'm flying back to Indiana to see family in like a few hours. So that's kind of fun. So my fam's getting everything ready, and so just doing a little bit of a lighter setup today. I'm going to throw all the stuff in and just jet. Hello, friends. Good to see you. Friends, family, same thing, right? So we have a couple seats over here right here. That's good. So I'm jetting out, literally, as soon as we're done today. And so I just wanted to say from the get-go, I love that we're able to talk and hang out and things afterwards, and we do still have after chat happening today. Vicky, this is Vicky, if you don't know Vicky. She's going to be leading after chat, and if you're not familiar with what after chat is, it's just like it sounds. After the service, a group circles up here, you just bring a chair and chat, and the intention of this is to just share what's coming up for you in real time. Everybody has different social batteries and things. Maybe after this you're like, I need a nap. I get it, totally. But maybe for you, some things came up within the service through the meditation or the message or the sound healing that you want to talk about in a space with others in a very intentional way. So we wanted to create a container for that directly after the service, not like another day somewhere else, like what's coming up for me right now in real time that I can speak with someone about and just kind of get this out of me and hear other people's perspectives and insights. So after chat, we'll be meeting in that area directly after the service today. And I will be immediately packing up and leaving. So if you try to come up and talk to me and I'm like kind of short, I promise you I'm not normally that rude. I'm a Cancer rising, so of course I'm and so please help me by not, because I will immediately start to engage you and talk and be warm. And then my Capricorn moon is like the plane boards at 1:30. The plane boards at 1:30. So I'll have that confliction going on within me. So thank you, friends, for helping me make it all happen. I don't know. Magic's great until you're stressing about it. You know, you're like, when the rabbit wants to come out of the hat by itself, that's great. When you're pulling it out, that's a different story. So we'll be leaving directly after the service, but feel free to join for after chat. A few other things, just really quick before we drop in today. the breakfast that we had scheduled for last week. We had a 3-week break, so it feels like it's been forever since we've been hanging out here together, because we meet on the first and third Sunday. Daniel texted me like Saturday afternoon saying like he was coming down with the flu. So we're like, okay, well, we're not going to come eat at your house, but we love you, but we're not going to do that. So we're having to reschedule the breakfast, so thank you for being flexible about that and everybody being able to shift and pivot very quickly. We are going to go ahead and schedule another one, though, even if it's not a fifth Sunday, because the breakfasts at Daniel's are really fun. And he makes these like pancake breakfast sandwich things that are really good, and I want one of those. So we're going to do another one. So no resource table, after chat, and who we are, I think something too, maybe this is just because like we've had a little bit of a break, but I feel like in such a big way wanting to reconnect in this space and to everyone here. Like I feel like, there's just been this season of time that has been feeling like a lot has been happening, and there's been a lot of space between relationships. For me here, I've been seeing everyone else like connecting and stuff, and it's beautiful, but I feel left out a little bit, and I'm just like, I want to connect more with people in this space, and I'm just so grateful because every time I do have the opportunity to go to coffee or to hang out or talk with everyone here, I'm just reminded again of like why we do what we do. There's just so much that I feel like is wanting to come through this space, that it is truly an alternative expression for many of us. Maybe you have come from like a Christian background, maybe you have no Christian background at all, but it just feels like there's this liminal space that many of us are navigating of wanting some sort of rhythm and ritual in our life and space for connection and community, but yet this like openness to support each other on this path of unfoldment. And it's just like a deep reminder that like, you know, the human species runs in packs, you know, and I've sometimes can feel isolated. In the past, I felt very isolated, and it's just such a refresher to come into community together with people that I feel like are on the same wavelength, you know. So you guys have all been such a gift to my life, and I just want to continue that and encourage you that if there are faces that you see around here that you've not connected with, there might be a really beautiful, deep friendship there that just takes a little bit of like, again, if you made awkward eye contact with somebody, just say what's up. Like, just say something. Somehow you all found yourself here. You double tap the thing on Instagram and click directions, and here you are. Somehow you're here. So you never know the kind of friendships you might find in this space, because it feels like there's just this similar tone and energy that we're all leaning into. And so I've just been leaning more back into that and just feeling the refreshing sense of community in this space. So I just wanted to encourage you with that. So, and we're a nonprofit, 501c3, and so we are supported solely on tithes, offerings, and donations, tax-deductible giving. So I always want to make it available that we are a nonprofit charity to continue to not only support what we do, but grow into this new season that we feel like is unfolding right now. So with that, Vicki, do you mind to light our candles this morning? And as we light these candles, we do this every service, just as a symbol that we want to invite the enlightenment into our life. That for this brief period of time, again, we're down with the ishness around here, but for this hour-ish of time, that we allow everything that we have been engaged with, all of our responsibilities, the things that are certainly important, but in this moment not urgent, that we step into this space, this intentional environment to create a container for peace, so that we can allow the muddy water of our life to be left alone, so that we can see with clarity. And so as we light this candle, we symbolically raise it above, symbolizing setting our mind above where Christ is seated. And allowing ourselves to rest into the stillness of this space. We ask, God, that you would help us to see from your vantage point. Help the divine mind come into clarity within our being. We ask that this set apart moment of time, this holy moment of time, would be dedicated to your presence, becoming alive within us more and more. Help us to see with fresh eyes. Help us to feel rooted and grounded and balanced in a chaotic, fragmented world. Help us to sense equanimity and peace, so that when we do leave from this place, we could be a deeper embodiment as people of peace in this world. We set the light above for illumination, for clear seeing. We thank you, Holy Spirit, for this space of intention and purpose. Help us to be here now. We ask for revelation and wisdom as we center ourselves for this meditation and sound healing. So be it.
I'll invite you to close down your eyes if they're not already closed. Placing your feet flat on the floor, resting your palms in your lap, perhaps facing up in a posture of receiving. And taking a nice deep breath in through the nose, sending that breath down to the space of the heart. Taking a nice deep exhale through the mouth. Just inviting your body to arrive. Inviting the mind to quiet down. I'll invite you to reconnect with that light that we placed above. Feeling that light shining down on you. And on your next next inhale, I'll invite you to imagine pulling that light down through the crown of your head and allowing it to travel down to the space of your heart. On your next inhale, pulling that light down to the base of your spine. And on your next inhale, pulling that light all the way down to the tips of your toes. Allowing it to flood your entire being. On the next inhale, pulling the light back up to the space of the heart. And on your exhale, sending that light out from the heart to those around you in this room. Remembering that the light that resides in your heart also resides in the hearts of everyone around you. And that we are all on this journey together, here to walk one another home. All in a different chapter. And resting into the fact that no matter what chapter you're in on this journey home, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Knowing that this journey is a process of refinement with a destination that we will never fully reach on this planet, on this realm. But it is one we're always moving toward. And that the destination may not look exactly as you thought it would. Not some place of perfection, but a place of beauty nonetheless. Like the well-worn sweatshirt that I have on. That's home to me after many wears. After many stains. It is not perfect, but it's me. And it took many long days and perhaps many hard moments to get it to this place of comfort. Just like each of our journeys. That process of becoming and refining who we are is not without stain. But we can find beauty in those places within ourselves. All the little blemishes that are part of our story, part of our journey. All leading us into the fullness of who we are meant to be, who we were created to be. Taking a nice deep breath. Sending it down to the space of the heart. And taking a moment to bring a sense of gratitude to wherever you're at on this journey. In this process of refinement. Taking a moment of gratitude for those around you, for this space, and for the light within us all. As you feel ready, I'll invite you to bring some gentle movement into your fingers and toes, and gently blinking your eyes open, ready to receive today's message, only as you feel ready.
Thank you, Mary, for that this morning. I feel like I needed that in so many ways, you know. It always happens. I know I feel like a broken record, but it is true. And I do feel like we could just pack it up now. You did a great job with that message. That was incredible. What am I going to tell you that's any better than what Mary just led you to? So we'll talk a little bit more about that theme of becoming who you are. I knew that I was going to be leaving to go on this trip. Initially, it was actually Monday, and so I had space, and then they had to do some rescheduling, and they let me book a different flight at no cost. So I was able to book a straight-through flight the day before, and I'm like, well, I'm going to get my money's worth for sure. So, and add some stress to pay for it that way. And so knowing that I was going to be leaving, it always has me thinking about going back to a sort of a hometown and doing some reflection on the becoming of who we are as people. And if you're here, it's because you're sincere about living life on this path of unfoldment, and you grow, you evolve, you shift, you change. And the truth is, some of the places and spaces that have been a part of your conditioning don't quite know what to do with that all the time. And it can be a difficult thing to navigate some of those places. And so for the past decade of going back to visit family, it's been such an interesting dance to try to feel my way through all of the boxes of who I'm supposed to be, who I'm not supposed to be, what I'm supposed to think, what I'm not supposed to think. Where I'm supposed to say something, and often whenever I choose to not say anything, and that creates some friction and frustration because people, know that you're not picking up what they're laying down and they want to say it, and I'm like, Ram Dass told me that it's up to the most conscious person in the relationship to set the tone for this environment. So, it's funny, Lindsay and I last night, I'm going to riff for just a sec. I'm going somewhere, but we were on a walk last night, and I was talking to her about this quote, Ram Dass. And what church am I in talking about Ram Dass? Welcome to Current. And he's talking about a Capricorn moon. Where am I? And we're going to talk about Jesus in a minute? My goodness. Anyway, at least that's what my mind says. So we're talking about that, and she's like, I don't know how I feel about that, because in her mind, that feels like that she just needs to just sort of have this sort of like spiritual bypassing, or this just positivity, and I just have to, let them run rampant and say whatever they want, and I have to suppress my thought and opinion. And I'm like, that's not what I think that phrase is saying to me. It's just saying, it's understanding that me being the fullness of myself and who I am, and the people around me being the fullness of themselves, is in fact going to cause some tension and friction and misunderstanding and all of that. It's just up to me in the relationship to say, I'm aware of that, and I don't have to fix anything, and I don't need anybody to understand. It's okay. And knowing that the reality is, life is messy. Like, our becoming is messy. Friction in this fragmented world is of course, that's what happens here, And so going back into some of those places, I'm just like kind of reeling back through my mind, just sort of energetically preparing for some of this. And I wanted to just share a little bit about the becoming who you are piece, because I think that phrase within itself, it's kind of a little bit of a paradox in some ways. Because how do you become something that you already are intrinsically in the core of your being? And I think a lot of this has to do with this process of conditioning and deconditioning. And these may be buzzwords to you, and they may be kind of played out. And you're like, oh my God, this guy's going to talk about conditioning again. This might be new language for you. And so have space for all of that. But you might also be familiar with this language of deconstruction. For some of you that maybe come from a Christian background, maybe you've been deconstructing your ideas, your faith, beliefs, things of that nature, doctrines, dogmas. And I think that they overlap on the Venn diagram, deconstruction and deconditioning. But I do think that they're nuanced in their own ways as well. Where deconstruction has a lot to do about, like, well, where do I place this theology now? Or where do I place these practices? How do I engage the world and the traditions and things of that nature? I would say this is a very broad, overarching stroke. Again, I think they overlap in the middle, but it's very exoteric in a lot of ways. It's the exterior things. What do I do with what do I believe about some systematic theology now? And then the deconditioning process, the conditioning, I think, is a very esoteric project of the inner world. It has more to do with the character of, well, who am I now if I'm not going to, have the 10 Commandments or something, or whatever it might be. Like, what is my inner world now? How do I operate through life? What's my rubric now? If these external things are changing, how does that reveal my conditioning? And then now, how do I live and move and have my being in the world? And these are all very fair questions and things that will definitely spark a dark night of the soul if you haven't been there already or are in one now. So strap yourself in if you're willing to go to that place. But I think that the thing is, not everybody deconstructs. I mean, they do in their own way. But, I think that certainly not everyone deconditions from their life. And sometimes I've heard in some circles about conditioning, and there's this sort of tone about it that it's like a bad thing, Like, yeah, this is just the way I'm conditioned or whatever, or I need to, again, it's a negative connotation. But we're all conditioned. That's part of life, is conditioning. That's part of life, is coming in and being shaped and formed and molded by your family, by your religion, by the country that you live in. All of those things are conditioning you and setting up very particular hardwired things within us. Whether you come to a point in your life where you are seeking to now have a different approach and perspective to that, that's a whole nother journey that something tells me you're on, because you're here and you're hanging out. But not everybody goes on that journey, and not everybody, how do I say this? I don't mean this in any pretentious way for us as a community, but like, it's a very courageous thing to start to understand and look at your life and acknowledge the ways that I have indeed been shaped in a certain way, and I'm outgrowing that now, and I'm having the willingness and the faith and the trust to move into spaces in my life, interior and exterior, that I've never been to before. That takes courage. That takes willingness to participate with what God is doing in your life. So congratulations, friend. You are on this path. And of course, it feels wobbly at times. That's part of it. That means you're in it. You're in the game. You're in life. It's taking place. That refinement that Mary was talking about is taking place. So the ambiguity is all a part of that deconditioning. It's evidence that there's something true being formed within you. And it takes a lifetime, you know. I think that's part of the illusion is like, if you're really truly like growing or evolving spiritually, that the evidence will be that like you live in a glass house in La Jolla with a Ferrari or whatever. And that's fine. You know, invite me over. That's totally cool. As long as we don't understand like that is not the identity evidence that you're on the right path, you know? I could riff on that for a little while. The goal of your life, I hope you know, and I hope to not step on too many toes, is not to just manifest things. I hope you know that. It's purifying the divine nature that's within you. The spark of divinity that's lying within you, dormant sometimes, that process of fanning into flame that divinity and allowing the grueling process of deconditioning to take shape in your life. And I'm reminded of the Apostle Paul, of course. I know how to have a lot of things. I know how to have nothing. It's learning to know the core of your identity, rested into that, no matter what is or is not happening, beyond our preferences and aversions in this life. And so, to me, the process of deconditioning has been pretty grueling, and I think that kind of comes with the territory. You know, my kids ask me, like, do your tattoos hurt? And I'm like, yes, they did hurt. And when you're young, when I was 18, on my 18th birthday, and first I'm like, this is nothing, dude. It's cool. No, yeah, it's cool. It doesn't hurt, you know. And then the older I get, the more I'm like, oh my God, is this session done? It hurts so bad, you know. But it's like, that's kind of, then my friend in Indiana that did a lot of stuff, he's like, yeah, I think that's kind of like the threshold for this kind of art. Like it is painful, and that's like the price that you pay for this kind of thing. This was not in the notes, friends. We're riffing here at this point. But I do think like that is part of the deconditioning process. The cost is not being understood. The cost is not being able to maybe do certain things that you could have done if you could have just maybe brushed over this and just kept with the program. I noticed a lot being a pastor's kid. If you're just getting to know me, I'm a pastor's kid, and I went into ministry and pastor and all these things and then went away from it and now trying to come back to it, and people are like, yeah, but not like that. Everybody wants to try to dictate it. They say you can, whatever God puts on your heart, as long as it falls within this category. It's like, I don't know. It's not how it's working for me, but this grueling process, I feel like, is something that comes with the territory. And if we can allow that shaping of the inner being of who we really are to come alive, I used to call this a lot, I still talk about it in spiritual direction, about panning for gold. Like we're excavating something true within us. You were made in the divine image and likeness of the divine. And if you go all the way back to the very first chapter of Genesis, the snake comes in to try to convince them to get something they already were. And so much of our life is about coming into realization of who we already are and letting go of the stories, the narratives, the preferences and aversions of who we thought we were. And I think that it's interesting as I observe in my own life. I was reminded this week, thinking about this, of the life of Jesus. In Luke 4, this is a time when Jesus just came out of temptation in the wilderness. And he's tempted by what we call the devil, or Satan, which is just the adversary or the accuser. And many of us we all have this inner accuser within us. Some traditions call this the ego, some call it the false self, some call it the fabricated self. Some call it the devil. Some dude with red spandex on and horns and a pitchfork, that's tormenting and taunting you all the time. And we all have that. And we're all tempted to not continue on the path of our becoming. If you look in that section, that little scene of Scripture, right before what I'm about to talk about in the life of Yeshua. He was being tempted. He was in the desert, in the wilderness for 40 days, which has its own symbolism of itself. And in the gospel, it says that angels attended to him, which, could be Essenes. I don't know. We can save that for a rabbit trail later. But the enemy, the accuser, the devil, the ego came trying to stunt and prevent his becoming into the fullness of who he was going to be in his incarnation. Trying to offer other pathways, negotiating other ways of being that was not going to honor the fullness of the life that he had come to live. And I would argue the same is true for us. We oftentimes are negotiating with ourselves the thing that we know is right for us that is true, but what does this actually mean in our relationships? What does this actually mean for my career or my work? What does this actually mean for my beliefs and the things that I actually shape my whole value system around? And we negotiate with our own inner ego, with the own inner devil, about taking the bait if we should not continue on the path of our own becoming. And I think if we follow this tradition of seeing the success of coming out of the wilderness and understanding a deep realization of who we are, mirroring, again, using the analogy of this life of Christ, there's a sort of authority that comes about within us when we have been able to name who we are and what we're about, unapologetically. And all of the voices, whether they're inside of our heads or whether they were programmed by our parents, again, our religion, all of these things, no matter how they were conditioned, there's this inner authority that comes about whenever you know that you are going to walk on your path no matter what costs are ahead of you. And when he comes out of the wilderness, out of this temptation, overcomes the ego, overcomes the devil, place whatever language you'd like to on it, he goes to the synagogue, his religious place. It would be like us going to a church. And he starts to read from the scriptures, and he starts to speak. And all of the people, they say, this guy's speaking with mad authority right now. I think that's exactly what the verse says. And they're like, we've never heard a teacher speak like this with conviction and passion and truth that cuts to the heart. You've been in the presence of these kind of people. It's just a no BS kind of thing. They're getting straight to the heart of the matter. And they're observing this person speaking to them in a way that they have never seen a person embody the fullness of who they are before. That they say, our teachers and scribes don't even talk like this. And it's incredible that as they acknowledge the authority that he's speaking with and the truth that he's speaking with, they say in the next verse after, if memory serves me correct, they say, but wait. Isn't this Mary and Joseph's kid? The very next verse. They're like, let's wait, everybody. Remember who we think this person is, who this person has always been in our mind. Pause. He's not smarter than all of our teachers or whatever. This is just Mary and Joseph's little boy. Why are we going to listen to him? By the way, we don't even know that Joseph's his dad. How are we going to listen to him and this guy? They're trying to put him back into the boxes where they could understand him because he exceeded that because he knew who he was and he was speaking with authority. So like, whoa, let's pull it back so that we could fit him in the matrix of our own mind. And I think in my life, as I have rested deeper and deeper into this path, and it's caused a lot of tension and friction in my relationships in my life and with people around me, as I get over my anxiety of my Enneagram 4 and stress going to 2 of a people pleaser or whatever it is you want to, system you want to throw on it. Why do we always got to do that? I feel like the more I rest into that and the more people try to keep going, but wait. And they're trying to bring back the conditioning again. Don't you remember you're just this? Don't remember you're supposed to be this? And what happens, even in the scripture, is a reflection of my own life. It's interesting, to the point that Lindsay and I were talking last night about the Ram Dass quote, and she's like, I feel like I just have to dissolve and disappear. She's a 9 on the Enneagram, so that makes sense that she would think that. So she's like, I just feel like I just have to let everybody have their opinions and I don't get to have mine. It's like, no, you actually get to have the fullness of your opinion, but you don't get to have the preferred outcome that you think that should have. And like in the verse that we're talking about in Luke 4, when they say, wait, isn't this Mary and Joseph's kid? Then Jesus starts telling them some stuff they don't want to hear. Like some pretty stark remarks about what his perception is about the nature of this whole religion and how it's in bed with politics. Good thing we don't deal with that anymore. That's a slow burn. You'll remember that one later. He starts speaking his truth. And the same people that said, wow, this person has embodied the fullness of who they are, a few verses down, literally, check it out for yourself, they're trying to throw him off a cliff a few verses later. And I love the verse, like it says that he basically like snuck through the midst of them and just kind of like played Houdini. And it's like, now you see him, now you don't kind of thing. You know, it's like he didn't even wait to have a conversation about it. He didn't read the comments or anything, you know. He just said his piece. They tried to throw him off the cliff, and he left town. I'm into that. I understand. And so I think in our own life, this process that we're all going through of becoming who we are and trusting that, I think it's important that it doesn't come without its set of conflicts and hardships and misunderstandings with people. And even the same people that are like, man, you're really stepping into the fullness of who you are. That's great. Like I've had people like, you know, at a certain part of their journey, they have coffee with me and they're leaning in and they're like, you know, wow, I know everybody says you're a heretic, but I'm kind of digging this. And I'm like, hey, the slippery slopes are really fun, man. You know, they're really great. People don't go to Mammoth for no reason. I mean, slippery slopes, come on. They're great. And then they go a little bit, maybe they get nervous, they get scared, or they start to retreat, they start to swim in the water, and their toes don't touch anymore, and they're like, I'm going back to the beach. They head back to the beach. I'm full of analogies. And then they're like, ooh, Luke is not teaching people the right thing or doing the right thing or whatever. And it's tempting for me to want to defend myself or protect the things that have been true for me that have been coming up. But we have to allow life to just sit as it is, even in the tension, and sometimes just move through the midst of them and disappear and continue on your journey because you know what you're here to do. I think it's incredible, again, pulling from the analogy, he didn't be like, ooh, people don't like this message, I'm going to change it. Like, again, what's viral? What's trending? Maybe I should do something more like that. He stuck with the message, and eventually these people finally got a hold of him and nailed him to a cross because he knew who he was and he knew what he was here to do. And by the way, the whole gospel message is about liberation and freedom for you to step fully into your incarnation and calling too. This doesn't really have anything to do with a prayer that you're supposed to pray at an altar somewhere. This is about following in the footsteps of trusting what God is doing in your life. Yeshua says that he can only see what the Father is doing. This is not a male parent in the sky that's worried about if you got good grades or not. This is the source. This is the origin of all, where we all have come from. I only see that. Paul even says it's no longer Christ who lives, or no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. That dissolving of the ego to align with what God is doing through your life and trusting that all the way to the point where it's so uncomfortable that people may try to proverbially nail you to certain crosses. And then we say, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. And compassion and grace and mercy and love becomes the fruit of our life. Because that's how you know you're on the path. The invitation is there for you and for others too, even when they can't see it at all. And we get it wrong and we mess it up, and sometimes we do defend and protect and project and all the stuff that your therapist is teaching you, and keep going. They're good people helping you do it. But trusting all of that is leading us somewhere that is true for our life. And it's very ambiguous at times. And I'll end with this. I even put an alarm on my phone because I know I'm down with the ishness. So we were having a conversation with some friends, and an analogy came to me that I can't stop thinking about all week long. And it's dovetails so perfectly with this. And it's been a reflection for me, and I want to offer it to you as we in this morning. And it was an analogy of whenever I was a kid and riding around in my mom's purple Dodge Caravan, 1997 to be exact. Maybe you can put yourself there. All the millennial kids listening to the radio know what I'm talking about. And we're riding around and listening to music or whatever. And I remember there was a song, and later I was like, Mom, don't you know that song that I'm talking about? You know, and it goes like this. And I like, da-da-da-da-da-da, you know, whatever, that sounds like Getting Jiggy with It. It's not that song. Wasn't that song. Probably Nirvana or something. It's the 90s after all. And so I did that. She's like, oh, yeah, sweetheart, like this song. I'm like, no, that's not the song. And it's so frustrating. And you're trying to hum the song. You can't remember any of the lyrics. You remember a little piece of the melody. You're 7 years old. You don't know what to do. There's no Google yet. You know what I mean? You can't like ask Siri, you know, or AI hum the song and it tells you what it is, you know. And I remember being so frustrated, like I cannot remember what this song is. And my mom, she's trying to help. Maybe it's this one, you know. She's pulling out the cassette tapes and putting the pencil in them, you know, trying to get the tape back going. And maybe it's this song. Maybe it's that song, you know. And we just could not get together on what this song was. But I knew I could hear it. I could hear the song inside of me. She couldn't hear it. She did so well trying to understand and to get to that song. But I just could not articulate it. And sometimes we go through seasons in life where we know the song of our heart. We know the song of our life, but we can't articulate it yet. We can't explain it. We can't put form around it. And in those moments, we're tempted. Is there something fun happening back here? Oh. In those moments, we're tempted to just be like, okay, yeah, sure, it's that song, you know, and just accept whatever it is just so we can find some clarity or listen to something at least. But my encouragement is that you have a song in the soul of your being. And if you keep listening to that song, people might not understand it. They might not be able to tap their toe to it yet. They can't identify it. And maybe you're in a season right now where you can't even identify the song that's in you. But keep listening to that song and being faithful to it, even when you don't really know what it is, because that's the song that's showing you who you are. We don't need any more carbon copies of anybody else, especially with all the AI slop. Like, we need real, full human beings in the ambiguity and messiness. It's the one thing that we still get to keep, man, is our soul and the messiness and the non-perfection of our life. And so that song that's playing within you is leading you to the right melody. There we go. All right, Southwest. It is bringing you to that space if you can trust it. But again, it may not lead you to the perfection that you're hoping for. They nailed Christ to a cross. Buddha, a lot of time we give Buddha a pass, you know, Gautama Siddhartha, but like, he had 3 different assassination attempts on his life. I hope you realize this. One from even a cousin. So like, people on the inner circle may not want the best for you. It's all right. You keep following the song. The song of your soul will lead you, and you'll be able to accomplish whatever it is that's here for your life. And I don't think we can come into the fullness of what that is here. We'll know one day. Because I'll get real Scorpio on you. And death is just another awakening to another thing. We'll find out again. But the closest thing we have is to raise that antenna of the heart, to channel whatever song's coming through us, and trust that we only see what the Father is doing and align with that. And you'll speak with authority. You'll speak with conviction. You'll be able to follow through with everything that you feel like is for your life to follow through with. And here's a beautiful thing, land with this. Jesus calls the Holy Spirit the comforter, because you're going to need a comforter. You really are going to need a comforter. And the Spirit is there to comfort you. And hopefully some community doesn't help. It doesn't hurt. Jesus, we're talking about you, and I'm annoyed. But yes, community helps too. And I've been feeling that in my own life as I've been trying to play whatever song's coming out of me, and you people have been so supportive to me and become such dear friends to me. Keep allowing the Spirit to comfort you. Lean in, play the song, listen to the melody of your heart, and That's how you'll know who you are. You'll become who you are. So let's stand and pray. God, we thank you for this space. Thank you for intentionality. Even as I sit up here, I just feel the warmth of your presence. Just pray that we as a collective would feel this warmth of presence. I'm even humbled to know, sitting here, that I'm preaching to the choir. Many of us here are well acquainted with and well aware and further down the path than even I am in the understanding of becoming. So God, we thank you for your comfort. We ask that you would lead us, guide us, help us to tune into the melody of our heart. So be it. Amen. So after this, feel free to grab a chair. So if anything's coming up for you, you want to rap about any of this, you're like, you talked a bunch, now I want to talk a bunch. Here's your opportunity. Grab a chair, circle up with Vicky. Normally hang out for about, until it's wrapped. And we'll be back here in 2 weeks for another service. We're thinking about doing a Q&R next time. I don't know. We'll see. We're feeling that out. So see you again here in 2 weeks, friends. Have a wonderful day.